Quick update, as I was doing this report, it came to the news that Donald Trump has officially got COVID-19. And my response to that is, of course he got COVID-19. You can't go around having rallies with thousands of people around with no mask and no precautions taking place in order to make sure that you don't get it. But unfortunately, in this country, listening to experts and being a little cautious is against their political stance. So how do I feel about it? Trump and his supporters are some of the most unsympathetic people in the face of the planet right about now, okay? So as far as I'm concerned, I don't have to wish death on him, but I don't have to pray for him either. And people on the left, y'all better hope that Biden don't got it, because by the looks of it, the only thing holding him together is nothing short of duct tape at this point. So with that being said, how you doing, Team Up? Hard news with Murdock. Now let's get into a topic that's definitely flying underneath the radar with all the madness that's going on, and it's going to affect us all regardless of which side of the aisle you sit on, and it's not going to stop regardless of who's sitting in the presidential seat, okay? Because over 40 million Americans is about to be kicked out of their homes, and according to reports from last month, an eviction ban alone won't prevent a housing crisis. To be more accurate, while a new order has halted most evictions throughout the end of the year, there remains no mechanism to cover what those tenants cannot pay, or to control the cascaded consequences when rent dries up. Tenants will still be on the hook for all this unpaid rent when the moratorium expires December 31st. And landlords in the meantime may find it increasingly hard to make repairs and cover the mortgage. For this reason, even advocates cheering the moratorium calls it a half measure. And landlord groups warn it could destabilize the housing market even more. And the person who wrote that report is damn near a prophet, because we're starting to see some of this stuff play out right before our eyes. And you know I believe in full context, so what I'm going to do is play some of the first-hand accounts of the madness that's going on out there, and I'll continue to report on the other side.
Devin Munoz said his landlord tried to wrongly evict him recently by turning off electricity, gas, and changing the door locks.
He's personally trying to evict me.
The 23-year-old is disabled and uses Social Security money to pay his rent. Munoz admits the pandemic has been financially hard, and he fell about $600 behind, but says he is trying to pay what he can.
The stress about with the money, man, it is real during the pandemic for sure.
The situation became so tense that police were called, who reminded the landlord that there is a moratorium on evictions.
He basically just told them the same thing, just go eat mud, climb back in his truck and peeled off.
Munoz is back in his South Park Avenue apartment, but wonders for how long. The landlord did not return our call for comment.
We ain't got nowhere to go.
Israel Rodriguez is a tenant at this apartment, but he's not alone. 20-month-old Israel, his brother, 4-year-old Fabian, and their mother are some of the estimated 40 million Americans facing eviction in the downward spiral of the COVID economy.
They didn't rush us, but they were like, get everything you need.
Rodriguez admits he hasn't been paying rent, behind thousands of dollars.
It's my fault in the eviction. It was a lot going on during the corona. When it hit, I lost my job. So it took me like a month to get another job. This is my check, but I ain't making it with $300. It's literally $300.
Their stroller now carries their possessions.
It's mainly the kids' clothes, because me and her just wear the same clothes almost every day. Make sure we got, toilet paper and a little bit of snacks for the kids.
What are you gonna do with all of your stuff?
That's trash. They can throw it in the trash because we don't have a car, we don't have help, we don't have nobody that can come, help us out right now. Nobody. We got ourselves, me and the kids and her, that's it.
It hasn't been a year since Lisa Pradia unpacked to move in.
This is a lot.
Yet here she is packing up to move out. The eviction ruling on her coffee table, the reason why.
Never thought I'd be in this situation ever.
Facing eviction during a pandemic like a growing number of Texans who, just like Pradia, never thought they'd see the day or days, beginning when she lost her job.
It was March 2nd. And what I did was immediately, I called 211 and they gave me a list of different entities that I could call to try to get help.
She says she used her stimulus check to pay partial rent on the home she leases in Richmond. By April, Pradia received word a local charity would help her. All she would need is for her landlord to fill out a W-9. She called him.
He's going to take a look at it and he'll get back with me. Only he didn't get back with me.
She says the landlord contacted her again in June, telling her to apply for rental assistance through Fort Bend County Judge K.P. George.
I do it. I contact him, let him know that, I I've been approved. So instead of him saying, okay, yes, he sends me this list of what I owe.
The landlord never filled out the necessary paperwork, Predia alleges. By June 30th, the judge ruled in his favor, $11,000 in court fees and back rent as part of that ruling.
At this apartment, the tenant is an elderly woman who can no longer afford the rent. The landlord's mover, Francisco Munoz, works, though he doesn't want to.
I have a family, I have a sister, I have my mom, and we never know. Maybe today is her, tomorrow's me.
In Clay County, Gina Johnson had until 3 p.m. to leave the home she shares with her 4 children.
It's hard.
She hasn't been able to pay her rent since June. The savings she used to help her family pay rent after being furloughed from her job as a waitress in March ran out months ago.
And I get my unemployment, but $275 a week isn't enough. It's not.
A judge signed a 24-hour notice for Johnson to vacate. The sheriff's office put it on her door yesterday.
Just what am I going to do now? Sorry, it's hard.
Now, when you're watching that, understand that's just the tip of the iceberg, because Ron DeSantis will indeed let Florida's eviction and foreclosure moratoriums expire. Which brings us to today's troubling report. Take a look for yourself.
Florida's eviction moratorium set to expire in just 2 days. Without an extension, thousands of Floridians are at risk of losing their homes unless they can somehow catch up on rent.
Those who are behind on monthly payments dating back to April and the beginning of the moratorium would have to pay all accrued rent. Some may not be able to do that. News 6's Carolina Cardona shows us how one Central Florida organization is preparing for a potential uptick in the homeless population.
We've got more than 40% of the folks who are walking through our doors right this moment have never been homeless before.
People who will soon be in need of a place to sleep after Governor DeSantis' executive order on certain real estate evictions expires October 1st.
The prospect of many people being evicted at that point is high.
The Coalition for the Homeless of Central Florida says with those potential evictions, shelters like theirs will be in high demand.
Shelter beds are at a premium. There aren't enough of them for all of the homeless folks in the community.
Allison Kroll, president and CEO of the coalition, says the increase in people who have sought shelter with them is also increasing the need for more food and essential products, bringing up their expenses by about 10%.
The financial implications have been significant. We're about $11,000 higher per week than we were before the pandemic in costs.
The organization provides shelter, meals, and other services for up to 500 homeless residents a day, and for those who are just looking for a warm meal.
We are seeing more folks from the community who are in need of a nightly meal, as well as not having the volunteers on site has definitely generated an increase in cost.
But it's not just about helping the homeless stay afloat. Kroll says they're also focused on helping them find permanent housing.
We've got our housing counselors on site that work with every single client that comes through the door to help them to leave us as quickly as possible. Homelessness is a trauma in the life of a person, and so the limited amount of time that they remain homeless, the better.
According to the coalition, more than 98% of their guests are Central Floridians. Currently, they're housing almost 80 children ages 18 and under, including infants who receive daycare services.
I think the biggest thing that we need right this moment are donations. As a community, this is a really big deal.
In Orlando, Carolina Cardona, News 6.
Now, what I'm going to do here is leave a link to the Coalition for the Homeless. They have a long track record of helping people out in these situations in case you're one of the people who's going through the very thing that this report is about, okay? Because Unclassified Perspectives is not about trying to fearmonger and sensationalize stories. It's about trying to make sure that y'all got the best information possible so y'all can better deal with the situations that we're faced with in this country so we can move forward better together, okay? And with that, that's all I have. Like, subscribe if you like what you see. Remember, the revolution is unclassified. Later.